Hey everyone, Deborah here. In this lecture, I'm going to demonstrate working with tables and a small multi-page report. The first thing I want to show you is the navigation pane. Right now on my screen, I've got a very short report. It's only 2 pages long, and it doesn't have very much in the way of formatting. And that's okay. For what we're going to do right now, we don't need formatting. So the navigation pane can help you move around in a long report so that you can easily and quickly locate and go to specific areas of a report. The way to do that is to view the navigation pane. And so if you want to know which tab to use, you were right if you picked out the View tab. So up here, I'm going to click View, and the navigation pane is here in the Show group, along with the ruler and grid lines. So to bring it forward and display it, just click a check mark into it, and the navigation pane appears on the left-hand side. Now, in the document I've got on my screen, it does have some heading styles applied to it. So you might notice that the word summary looks different from the rest of the text in the paragraph that follows. That's because summary has the heading 1 style applied to it. And that's in one of my previous lectures, how to apply styles. So we've got some styles applied to the subheadings of each paragraph. Well, maybe not each paragraph, but most paragraphs. And so if you look over here in the navigation pane, under headings, it automatically lists all of the headings that it can find. Now let's say that I want to go to the expenditures heading. So all I have to do to get there, and it doesn't matter what page it's on, it can be on page 2 or it can be on page 22 or 202. Anyway, what you do is you just click on it right here in the headings list, and it instantly takes you to that area, that part of the document. And you can just do that with any of the headings in the document. As long as you've got heading styles applied, you can click on any of the headings in the navigation pane and go directly to that heading. In addition to going directly to specific heading areas, you can also search for specific terms, specific words or phrases. So let's say I want to find a phrase that mentions 32 students. So I'm going to type up here, I'm going to type 32 students. And it takes me to the location where that is, and it highlights it for me as well. So the navigation pane can really be a great way to get around a long document. Okay, I'm going to close the navigation pane. Click its X button right there. And the next thing I want to do is show you how to create a table. There's more than one way to do it, of course. To create a table, what you do is you go to the Insert menu, and you go to the Table button. It's right here. When you click the Table button, it offers you a menu of different ways to do it. One way is to click right here, Insert Table. If you click that, you get a dialog box where you can tell it how many numbers of columns you want and how many rows you want. You can also give it some other details about how you want it set up, and then just click OK. Another way to do it is to draw a table. It's where your mouse becomes a drawing pencil, and you can just click and drag to make the table you want, and click and drag to decide how many cells you want and what shape and size you want. So if you really need a very customized type of a table, you might want to choose that method. Another way to do it, the way I like to do it, is this way. All I do is point my mouse and hover without clicking over these grids, these little square shapes, and check out the document as I'm moving my mouse around this grid. Look at my document. It's building the table as I am just moving around this chart, this diagram. So depending on how many columns and rows I want, whatever I want, I can just click. When I get the table that I want, when I see what I want, I just click the square and it instantly puts it in for me. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to merge cells together in the table. Let's say that I want these 4 cells to become one large cell. So what you do is you click your mouse inside one of the cells, and it's usually easier to put it into the upper leftmost corner, and click and drag until you have selected or highlighted all 4 of the cells. Then what you do is you go up here to the contextual menus, Table Design and Table Layout, and you click Table Layout. Then over here in the Merge group, you click Merge Cells. I'm going to click away, and now you can see that I have one large cell where the other 4 used to be. You can do the same thing with different cells as long as they're next to each other. So for example, if I just want these 2 cells to be merged together, I can do that. Go Table Layout, go to Merge Cells, click Merge Cells, click away, and there I have 2 merged cells together into one. So merging cells is very easy to do, and it can give your table a nice kick. Now let's say that I have a bunch of different numbers going down one column. Okay, now let's say that in the last cell below the numbers, I want to show the sum of all of the numbers above. In other words, I want to have a total that just totals up all of the numbers above it. Well, there's an easy way to do that, very easy way. It's especially good if you need to add more numbers into the column or delete numbers out of it, or even just change the numbers. So what you do is you go up here to the Formula button in the Data group, okay, and again, this is on the Table Layout tab. So I'm going to click Formula, and the Formula dialog box comes up, and the default formula that always shows up first is the adding one, the one that adds everything up. Now every formula always begins with an equal sign. Those of you who are used to using it, the Microsoft Excel app, you're very familiar with this. The equal sign always starts off a formula, then comes the function, what exactly you want the formula to do, and then after that it tells the function where to find the data. This is the formula that's used for adding up a bunch of numbers just above. So I'm just going to leave that as it is. That's what I want, and click OK. And the total shows up there. How do I know there's a formula there instead of just someone typing in the total? Well, there's a way to do that. You press the Alt key on your keyboard and tap your F9 button along the top edge of your keyboard. Alt F9. You do that and you can see what the formula is behind what it's displaying, what it's showing. And to put it back, to hide it again, you just toggle Alt F9 again. Now what happens if I change one of these numbers? Let's say I change this number. I find out later that this number has to be different than what it is. So I'm going to just type a slightly different number in there. And then what I do is I go down here and I click on the displayed formula answer, and I right-click to get the shortcut menu, and I click Update Field. So now it's been updated to reflect the new total. It's pretty simple. There are other formulas you can enter in here to make other calculations as well. Now I'd like to show you how to sort rows in a table. Okay, here we have a table, and it has what's called a header row. The header row is this row going across the top, which is containing the labels or titles for each column. Remember, columns go up and down, and rows go left and right. So this is what we have so far. So what we need to do before we can sort anything in a table is we have to click somewhere inside the table. Right now, my flashing insertion point is outside of the table. So notice that the contextual menus have disappeared. So now if I click anywhere inside the table, now the contextual menus are here, or I shouldn't say menus, I should say tabs, table design, and also table layout. What we want is on the table layout. Over here, next to formula, is the sorting tool. So here's what we do. This is how we sort the data that's in a table. You click the sort button, and you get this sorting dialog box. First thing you have to decide is what you're going to sort by. Well, before you can even decide that, go down here to this lower left corner and make sure if your table has a header row, make sure that it's showing that it has a header row. Okay, if you see the dark blue ring here, that's the header row. That means the header row has been selected and it's showing a header row. If you put no header row, then the title or header row that is here will be considered part of the data. You don't want that. So you want to make sure that it says header row if it does have one. Now we go up here to sorting by. What are we going to sort by first? We're going to choose from this list. And the list should show you the titles of each column, or rather the headers that are in the header row. We have item, notes, and cost. Let's say that we want to sort these rows. There's 3 rows, okay? And we want to sort them by cost. So we're going to click cost. And then over here under type, you either choose text, number, or date. Well, let's say that there is no text and there is no date. It's just numbers. So we're going to choose number. And then over here you decide whether you want to sort your rows by ascending or descending. Ascending means the smallest number would be on top and the largest number would be on the bottom. Descending would be the opposite. So let's go with ascending. The smallest number should then be on the top. Now you can also sort, after sorting that way, you can sort it by a secondary criteria, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to sort this one way by the numbers on cost. So now I'm going to click OK. All right, but before I do that, take a look at what's here now. We've got 8 tablets, $4,000, 8 laptops, $4,800, and a server, $1,200. Okay, let's click OK. And what happened? Well, our rows were resorted. The server is now at the top of the list at $1,200, which is the smallest dollar amount for cost. The tablets are in the middle at $4,000, and the laptop computers are at the bottom at the largest cost, $4,800. So that's how you can actually sort the rows of data in a table, especially as long as you've got a header row. You don't have to have a header row in order to do it, but it helps if you do. Okay, switching back to the document, I'm now going to show you how to set up a tab stop. Now you might think, oh, well, why do I have to do that? Why don't I just, press the tab key? Well, because the tab key only does one thing. All it does is shove things over by clicking tab a bunch of times. So instead of doing that, what if you want something a little bit more involved? I'm going back to the Home tab, and this is what you do. If you want to set a tab stop, you would click this little button here, which would then bring out the paragraph settings dialog box. At the bottom left corner of this dialog box, there's a button called Tabs, and you just click that button. Now you're where you want to be. This is the Tabs dialog box. And there's different kinds of tabs you can create. It's really pretty cool, actually. You can create decimal tabs. A decimal tab is what you want if you need to type a bunch of numbers with decimal points in them. If you use the decimal tab, then those numbers will be properly aligned with the decimal tabs all in a column, correctly lined up, one after the other, going up and down. There's lots of other really great tabs you can use, but right now let's just stick with the left alignment tab. And let's take a look at leaders. A leader is Typically something that will be like a line that goes from where the tab starts to where the tab ends. For example, let's say that you want to have a leader that's a dotted line. So I'm going to choose a dotted line. And then I'm going to tell it, where do I want this tab position to be? The tab stop position. In other words, when I press the tab key, where do I want it to go to on the ruler? Do I want it to just go to like the 1 inch mark, the 2 inch mark, 2.5 inches, 2 3/4? Where do I want it to go? Let's say I want it to go to the 3 inch. So the tab stop position, I'm going to put 3, okay, for 3 inches. And then I'm going to choose the dotted leader. And then I need to press or click the set button. A lot of people forget to do this. They forget to click set before they click OK. They think, oh, I got it all set up. Now I just click OK. No, you've got to set it first. And when you set it, it shows up in this box. If it's not in this box, it is not happening. So I'm going to click set, and now I can see that it has been added. So now if I click OK, it's there. And how do I know? Well, if you look up here at the ruler, there's a little indicator there right under the number 3 for the 3 inches, and it looks like a capital L, but what that really means is left. It's a left aligned tab. Now, see where my flashing insertion point is? It's right here at the beginning of the first sentence, this report. So now if I press the tab key right now, look what happens. It moved over to the 3 inch mark, and it has a dotted line leader leading to that 3 inch mark. Okay, I'm going to remove the tab off of the ruler by clicking and dragging it down. So what I do is I take my mouse pointer and point right on that capital L and click and drag straight down and let go, and it goes out. It's gone. And now it reverts back to just a simple 1/2 inch tab. So I'm going to, because I did press the tab key, so I'm going to click backspace to make it go back to the original. So now I'm going to go back into the tabs dialog box, and this time I'm going to choose no leader, and I want to put the tab stop position at, oh, I don't know, 2.25, 2.25. Click set. There it is in the box. Click OK. And now if I press tab, it goes to that point on the ruler. And remember, I took out the leader. There's no leader for this. And so creating tab stops can really help you go quickly with where you want your text to show up. If you want to get rid of tab stops, you can click and drag them off the ruler, or if you have a lot of them, you can go back to the tabs dialog box and just click clear or clear all. Click OK, and it's gone. The next thing I'm going to show you is something called automatic hyphenation. Automatic hyphenation is useful in documents if you want the person reading it to have kind of an easier time of following it with their eyes. So here's what you do. First of all, if you want to put in automatic hyphenation, you have to go to the Layout tab. Then it's in the Page Setup group, and it's right here, hyphenation. And of course, hovering your mouse over it will pop out the explanation of what it is and how it works. So if I click hyphenation, the default setting is none, no hyphenation. In other words, there are no hyphenated words anywhere in the document. Take a look at it. There's no hyphenated words anywhere. But you can either put them in manually, or you can put them in, which frankly, doing it manually can be kind of a pain, or you can choose automatic. And of course you have some other options here, but I'm not going to cover that right now. That's a little bit more advanced. I want to just look at automatic. So I'm going to choose automatic. Now look at the document. Notice over here there's some hyphenations where there hadn't been any before. Not only that, but the text has kind of stretched out a little bit further, closer to the margin, which kind of makes it a little bit easier to read rather than reading shorter paragraphs. So I'm going to undo what I just did. Take a look at this paragraph. Keep your eye on this paragraph, especially in this area of it, while I undo what I just did. See what happened? It got rid of the hyphenated words, and it kind of shortened up the paragraph. But if I redo it again, if I put in automatic hyphenation again, it will hyphenate certain words automatically and make your document have slightly wider paragraphs, and it really helps too to make your document a little shorter to read. Next, I'm going to show you how to divide your document into sections. What does that mean? Well, think of a document as a great big open field, and you've got a bunch of cows grazing in the field, and you want some of the cows to be in one section of the field and some of the other cows to be in a different section of the field. Let's say that you have some cows that are about to give birth and other cows that aren't. And you want to keep all the cows that are about to give birth together in one section of the field and the other cows that are not about to give birth in a different section of the field. Well, how do you do that? How do you keep them separate? By building a fence, right? So you fence in the cows that you want in one section and fence in the other cows that you want in a different section. Well, it kind of works the same way in a document. When you insert and create sections, you're kind of fencing off different areas of the document so that you can do one thing in one section of the document and something different in the other section. And let me demonstrate what that means. First of all, if we're starting from the Home tab, okay, on the ribbon, where do you think we go to put in these sections, these section breaks? Some people think, oh, it's the Insert menu, but it isn't. The section breaks are located in the Layout tab. And it's right here in the Page Setup group. There's a button for breaks. So what you do is you click that button, and you have two different kinds of breaks. You've got page breaks and section breaks. So we're going to look at the section breaks down here. There's 4 different kinds, and the only two that you're really going to be concerned with very much in this class is the next page section break and the continuous section break. Let's start with the next page section break. Well, first we have to decide where we want it to go. Let's say we want it to go, right here at the end of the paragraph for background. Let's say that we want that paragraph to end on its own page, and we want course topics to start on a whole separate other page, and we want both of these pages to be in different sections for different reasons. So right now, and we'll get to that in just a second. So right now I'm going to put my flashing insertion point here at the end of the paragraph where I want the section break to go. So then I'm going to go back up here to the breaks button, and under section breaks I'm going to click next page. And it did it. It created a whole other page, and it shoved down the course topics and everything that follows it onto that other page. Okay, let me kind of zoom out for a little bit so you can see a little bit better what I did. Now, how do you know where the section break is? It doesn't show you where the section break exactly is. You might think it's down here, or you may think it's over here on this page. So the only way to really know is to go to the Home tab and click this. It looks like a backwards P. It's called the Show Hide button. And when you click that, it displays all of the non-printing characters. And if you'll notice, the section break is now displayed, and it shows exactly where it is. So now, if I want to delete the section break, all I have to do is place my flashing insertion point, my flashing cursor, at the very beginning of the section break, which is right after the period. So I'm going to go after the end of the document, or rather end of the sentence, and I'm going to press the delete key to delete whatever's just to the right of that flashing line. So I just deleted the section break, and it took away that break between the pages. Now, What if I want to create a section break, but it needs to be invisible in the sense that I don't want a separate page. I want the section break to happen in the same place that I did the first one, but I don't want course topics to start on a separate page. And I'll show you why that is in just a minute. I'll give you an example after that. So first, make sure my flashing insertion point is right there. I go back up here to the Layout tab. I click Breaks. And this time, instead of Next Page, I'm going to choose Continuous. So I'm going to click that. And again, it doesn't show it unless you go to the Home tab and click the Show Hide button. There's the section break. Okay. Now, I'm going to get rid of the Show Hide button or toggle it off, and I'm going to give you an example of why you would want to have two different sections on the same piece of paper. Let's say that up here we want this text to be set up like newspaper columns, two separate columns of text. So what I would do is place my mouse somewhere up here in this section of the document, somewhere above that section break, and I'm going to choose Layout, and I'm going to go to Columns, and I'm going to choose 2. Boom, look what happened. It created a formatting choice where all of this text is now laid out like a newspaper or magazine page in two separate columns of text. But the text down here wasn't touched. That's because of the section break. There's the section break at the end of this text. Remember we put it at the end of the background paragraph? Well, there it is right here. Now, if we didn't have that section break, I'm going to delete the section break. It all goes back to normal. Now, if I get rid of the Show Hide. Now, if I place my mouse anywhere up here in the top couple of paragraphs, now if I go to Layout and choose Columns and go to 2 columns, it creates 2 columns to the whole document. Why? Because the whole document is just one great big ginormous section, okay? I made the mistake of not putting in a section break where I wanted it to be, the continuous section break. So that's what sections can do. Sections can do a lot more than that too. They can help you have different headers and footers on different pages, and we get into that kind of thing later on in the class. Next, I'm going to show you headers and footers. A header is any text, characters, numbers, pictures, graphics, anything you like that always shows up at the beginning or very, very tip top of a document. And that means above in the top margin area. Whereas a footer always shows up at the bottom edge of a page, of every page, I should say, in a document. It would be at the bottom edge of every page. So let's start with looking at what a footer is. One way to get to the header area or footer area is to click the Insert tab, and then way over here in the header and footer group, you can input headers and footers this way. However, if you don't want to move off of the Home tab, you don't have to. All you have to do to put in a header or footer, a header right now, is to place your mouse at the top of the document, up here near the top edge, and double click. You got to hold your mouse very still, but when you do that, you instantly place your flashing insertion point inside the header area. And you may notice that the text in the document has sort of gone pale. Now I'm going to double click outside of the header area, down here in the main area, and you can see that it's darker. Zoom in a little bit. Now let's do it again. Notice how, the text looks normal. Now if I put my mouse into the header area, anywhere in the header area, and double click, now this looks pale down here, and I'm now in the header area. So if I were to type something up here, and then double click away into the main area, the header then becomes pale. Now that doesn't mean, if you were to print this out, that doesn't mean it would print out looking pale like that. It would be just as dark as the rest of the text. The only reason it looks pale is because it's indicating to you where your flashing insertion point is, that your insertion point is actually in the main body instead of in the header area. And if I scroll down to the second page, notice that my header is showing up again at the top of the second page too. And if I had 3, 4, 5 pages, all the pages would have the words chapter 1 at the very top, and that's why it's called a header. Now let's try doing a footer. I'm going to go to the bottom edge, double click in the bottom edge area, and now I'm in the footer area. Now let's say I want to put in, a page number, automatic page numbering. And this is also something we're going to do later on. If I press my tab key once, it will instantly move to the center. Why? Because there's a center tab set up on the ruler. So, and it automatically does that in the footer area. You don't have to set it up. It's already there for you in the footer area. So now all I have to do to put in automatic page numbering is go up here to where it says page number. And how do I know it's there? Because I'm in the footer area, and look up here. I've got a contextual tab or contextual menu called header and footer. Okay. And if I double click to get out of the footer area and into the main area again, this menu, this tab will go away. It's gone. So if I want it back, I can go back down here to the footer and double click. There it is again. Now I can use any of the tools on the header and footer menu, or I should say the ribbon. Okay, now page numbering is over here. This is automatic page numbering. I'm going to just choose plain number here at the bottom. Click that, and there it is, number 1. Now if I double click to get out of that and get into the main area, it becomes pale. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and check it out. At the bottom of the second page, there's the automatic page number. It doesn't say 1 because it's automatically numbering all the pages in sequence. So page 2 shows page 2 right here. And if I had a third page, it would have a 3 at the bottom of it. And that way, you don't have to type the page numbers manually. And what's more, if you have to delete a page or add a page, the automatic page numbering will automatically adjust itself for you. So you don't have to go back and retype all the page numbers. Isn't that cool? I love that. Okay, that's all I'm going to tell you about headers and footers right now. The next thing I'm going to show you is something called SmartArt. SmartArt is what Word calls flowcharts. It's an old-fashioned term. Some of you may be familiar with what a flowchart is and what it looks like. And SmartArt lets you input flowcharts instantly, and you can choose lots of different kinds of them. So how do we find them? We go to the Insert menu, and in the Illustrations group down here, we choose the SmartArt button. Go ahead and click the SmartArt button, and you get the SmartArt dialog box. And this is really great because you can choose from different categories on the left-hand side, and each category shows you a gallery of specific types of SmartArt within that category. So let's say I want to look at a hierarchy. So I'm going to click hierarchy, and here it shows me different types of SmartArt diagrams or flowcharts that illustrate hierarchies. How about a process? These are the SmartArt flowcharts choices for processes. So it's really up to you. Now, you don't have to use what it tells you to use for hierarchy, for example. If you want to use a process type of SmartArt to illustrate a hierarchy, that's totally fine. It's up to you. All you have to do is know where to find what you want. That's all. Just go through these lists until you see something that you think will illustrate what it is you're trying to convey in the best possible way. I'm going to choose, in this example, I'm going to choose a process. So for this process, I'm going to pick the circle process. And the circle process, a lot of these have color, which you can change later. You can, if you don't like these colors, that's totally fine. You can change them later on. But for now, I'm just going to pick that one and click OK. And it creates the SmartArt. And it also, you might notice that there is no color in particular other than the blue. So if I want color, I can go up here, because look what happened when I put in my SmartArt diagram. I've got a SmartArt contextual ribbon, or rather contextual tab, where I can make choices about how it's designed, and I can make choices about how it's formatted as well. Let's go back to the design. I want to change these colors. I don't like, these are boring. I want to change. So I'm going to click change colors, and I've got lots of different choices here. Okay, I'm just going to pick one at random. There's some color. And I can also pick styles. If I go up here to the SmartArt styles choice, check out how cool these are. These are 3D, they look glossy, or however. I mean, there's lots of different ways you can make your SmartArt look. So now I can now go in here and type in the words, the text that I want to have. Okay, so like process number 1, in the first step of the process, I might say concept. Then the second step, step 2, I might want to say brainstorm. And step number 3, I might say choose. Okay, I'm going to click away. And there's step 1, you come up with a concept. Step 2, you brainstorm with your colleagues. And step 3, you choose whatever it is you want to choose. So it's just an example. And you can even add, what if I need to have a step 4? Well, that's easy to do. When I click inside the diagram, inside the SmartArt, I can go up here to the contextual menu and choose SmartArt Design. And then way over here in the far left-hand side, click Add Shape. And I can add a shape after or before. If I click after, it will add an additional shape after the end. Or if I click before, it will add a shape to the beginning, the starting of it. So there's lots of different ways you can manipulate your SmartArt. The last thing I want to show you is choosing a theme for your document. The smart thing to do before you select a theme is to go through your document and put in a style set, or at least put in styles. Otherwise, you may not see anything if you pick a different theme. Let's go to the Design tab, and themes are way over here on the far left-hand side. Click Themes, and you can roll your mouse and hover it over any of these themes and see a preview of what it would look like if you were to make one of these selections. Okay, there's one theme. And how do I know which theme I've got that I applied to it? Because the theme that I applied will now be highlighted in a sort of a gray background. So you can tell that the one I've chose is called Circuit. Now let's say I don't like that one, I want to change it to something else. I'll pick Wood Type. There's tons of different ways you can create themes. And that brings us to the end of the lecture.